Welcome to the One Hand at a Time podcast. I'm your host, Chris Welton, and today I have a very special guest. We were just talking before the recording started. It's 17 degrees here. He's down in Miami, so I'm not sure how warm it is there, but it's a lot warmer there than it is here. But I've got a guest that I've been trying to get on the show for a few months now, and I know that he's really going to bring just some clarity to a lot of people in the business world and help you understand. He's a big data-driven guy, just some great stories behind some of the stuff. And he's just, of course, a top producer in the mortgage space. But he's also one of my VIP clients. So I want to welcome Ricardo to the show.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Chris. I'm excited to be here. I know we've been talking about this for a while.
Yeah, man. Well, busy people, it's hard to get people on calendars, brother. I get it, man. I get it. You know what I mean? Like, I was just looking at my calendar. I've got two things where I'm going to travel in March. I'm like, how do I move 20 calls like for both weeks? It's like crazy, right? So we're figuring that out until I get the private jet. That's just the things we're going to have to do, right? We're
That's
going to have
right.
to figure that out because that's going to have to be the next thing where I'm on private all the time, because getting to and from events can be a struggle sometimes, right? So we'll get to that at some point. But I want to start out with one of the first conversations you and I ever had. And you're a top producer, $100 million multiple times in the mortgage space. You build a massive team. You live in Miami part of the year, part in San Francisco, and you've done all these different things. But for me, the thing I think was the most valuable thing that you said to me ever since we started was the reason why you wanted to be successful. And a lot of people, it's the cars and all that stuff. And we talk about cars all the time. We both had plenty of cars and all this stuff. But there was something else that really resonated with me. And it was like, dude, this guy is super legit on what he's saying. And I don't believe his goals are big enough because of the driving force behind it. Can you share with everybody what the reason? Do you remember that conversation?
I do. Yeah. The part of the questions that helped guide my answer, but I think if I look back at like what's pushed me in my journey as an entrepreneur, I mean, even from since I was selling candy in middle school, it was always my family and making sure that my parents were taken care of. One of the current goals is to be able to pay off my parents' real estate so that they have the ability to fully retire and not really worry about needing to work. Even though both my parents will still work, knowing both of them, they're not going to let the foot off of the gas, but at least give them some peace of mind to go travel more and to know that their real estate portfolio is handled.
Yeah, I think it's so powerful that it's something more than what you want, right? Like it's not this, I want to make this much money. It's this house I want to buy. It's this other car I want to buy or this other watch. There's this other thing that makes you want to give back because of what great parents they were to you, right? Like, I hope that one day my son or daughters will say that about me, right? Like that's such a compliment. Like there's nothing greater than that you look at it and you go, man, I didn't screw them up that bad. Cause I mean, we're going to screw them up. Like that's, I was talking to a guy the other day. He goes, you know how you can tell if people are screwed up or not? I'm like, no. He goes, they had parents. I'm like, yeah, okay. That makes sense. Yeah.
It's true.
It's very true. Right. But like, how did they do when they screwed you up and fixed it? You know what I mean? Like what did they do to make that? And I'm curious, what we want to take care of the parents who retire and stuff, but as a kid, we're not really taught. I believe a lot. We catch a lot, right? Like we catch a lot of things, and some of the things are not good we catch from our parents. But can you give me an idea like what you caught from your dad and your mom as far as work ethic was concerned and drive?
Yeah. So I'm the middle child of three. I was always the what I would say is the rebellious one, even though I think to certain extents I wasn't as rebellious as I definitely could have been. Both my younger sister and my older brother were the ones who were always more successful than I was at school. And, my parents were extremely strict. Both of them are immigrant both my parents are immigrants. I'm a first generation college student, and neither of my parents went to high school. Neither of them graduated high school. Neither of them went to college. And they actually met in English class. So both my parents met at school, funny enough, but
Nice.
taking classes for English. and neither of them spoke each other's language, which I think is even more funny. But from that to seeing how my parents were strict on us growing up and saying, like, you need to get the straight A's, you need to go to school, you have to study and take your tests, and not miss class and things like that. Which I did to a certain extent, but I didn't really feel like I had a calling towards school or towards academia in general, right? Like I was a good student because I felt like naturally I was just smart, to the sense that I didn't really study for tests. I was a really good bullshitter in my way through school. And my dad I would always go to work with my dad, even in my very early ages. And my dad's been in structural steel for over 40 years. So very labor intensive work. But ever since I was little, I always remember that my dad was running the shop. So he was basically a shop manager in charge of making sure that the fabrication of the structural steel that they were working on was getting done properly. And they were working on these massive commercial projects in Silicon Valley. But I got to see my dad's thought process behind a lot of things, because even as I was younger, he would always talk to me of like, work smarter, not harder. And like, that was always like a reoccurring thing for him. I think that's partially what made him significantly more successful than a lot of immigrant people that come into the States. And he really just led with that, in also making sure that I knew things that I wasn't going to need to know, skills that I wasn't going to need to know. I'll use a good example, because as I started to learn more about real estate and realizing that real estate was a path to long-term wealth, my parents over the years didn't know much about finances, but they knew one thing about the United States, which was that if you owned real estate, you were going to be successful over the long term. And so they put a lot of their cash into real estate purchases. My parents had acquired various properties, and at a young age, me and my brother would always go help my dad whenever we had turnover. So we had a vacancy in one of our apartment units or in one of our parents' properties, and we would go and we would be the ones to fix it. Whether it was, flooring, drywall, painting, literally everything, we were doing it ourselves for the most part. And although I hated doing those things when I was younger, I never wanted to go because I would always just want to be at home playing video games. I can say today that gave me so many more skills that I didn't know that I'm so grateful for, of where I am today, and being able to have conversations with my clients who are contractors and flippers and real estate investors, where I have the construction expertise, but now I also have the business and the financing expertise, the real estate expertise, that all kind of came at once. Unexpectedly,
Well, there's so many lessons from that. Like, let's break that down, because there's so many things we can go through there. And the first one is something I'm a firm believer in, and it's called intentional adversity, right? So if we don't put our kids through certain things, I'm not saying go beat your kid, put them in difficult situations to learn a skill that they may never want to use, but we put them in those spots, it helps them become a better human, a better adult. And it also led that you did not want to be a flooring guy.
Yeah, no.
So you were going to be the best mortgage or real estate guy you could, because the last thing you wanted to do was flooring. No disrespect to the guy that wants to be a flooring guy. I got one of my best friends has been a flooring guy since he was 16. He's an artist. The guy's like, what he can do with tile and like all that stuff. Yeah. He's amazing. And that's just what he does. Me, I'm not going to do it. Right. That's not my taste. But how valuable of a lesson was that for your dad to put you in a spot where he knew you were going to be uncomfortable, so you would work smarter, not harder, and do something to where you could pay somebody to do the things that would take time off your plate and away from what it is you really want to do. So that's
exactly,
dude, that's power. I can't wait to write a book about this shit, dude. Like, this is going to be really good. Like, I mean, that's because that lesson, those lessons today are so far gone. I met a guy a couple years ago at a little mastermind, and his dad was a billionaire, and they flew there in a private jet. And I was having a conversation with him, and he told me a similar story. He said, Chris, the reason why I'm not an asshole like a lot of people that fly in private jets and other things, and I'm not knocking people in private jets. Trust me, I want a private jet, whatever it is, what it is, but I want to earn it. And he said, my dad used to have these properties in the town we lived in Pennsylvania. And in the summertime, they would just get covered with weeds in their fields. And he'd drop myself off and my brothers and I was 10 and they were twins and they're 8 with 3 weed eaters and a bottle of water. And he'd come later, like 4 or 5 hours later and pick us up. Like they were billion, like they had all the money they could ever spend. And he made them go do this to learn and work. Right. And he made them have their own jobs and do their own things and earn their own ways. And I think that that's such a lost art form today about what it is we're trying to teach our kids. So dude, you have some really good foundation for when you get to the point that you start bringing kids in the world. It's an advantage.
Yeah.
An extreme advantage when you do that.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it's interesting because I can think back to the times of me doing those things and I'm like, man, I really don't want to be here right now. And like, it's so annoying. But after finishing the project and seeing that, whatever it was that we were working on, it's completed. One, that was the reward in and of itself of like project's complete, good to go on to the next thing. But also just like from my perspective now of maybe I don't have to do those things when the toilet breaks at one of my investment properties. Mm-hmm. But at least I can confidently say that I have the ability to go and fix that myself. I don't need to worry about it. I don't need to talk to ChatGPT. I don't need to watch a YouTube video. Yeah. Like it's just, I take that and I run with it significantly more. And I think part of the reason that I was put in those situations is what's allowed for me to, I like to use the term shoot from the hip, where like, there's so many things where I don't really need to figure out the minute details. If I'm like, I want to get to point A, it's like, okay, I can get to point A. I can figure it out from shooting from the hip and we'll figure out the rest later. Right. Like that's kind of, I carry that mentality a lot because it allows me to not get stuck in the details. And then eventually you don't end up moving forward.
Yeah. I mean, you become a better problem solver, right? Like, I mean, and I think we both can agree on this, that the people that make the most money in the mortgage space are the most successful, are the best problem solvers, hands down. Like someone could bring me a deal and they go, I just can't figure it out. It's not going to work. And I could literally shuffle through it, read a couple things, switch this, look around at this, all above board for anybody that's listening or whatever. This isn't a compliance thing. Like I would do it the right way, but I could restructure and relook at a deal and go, oh, but if we did this, and maybe because we're not getting approved eligible at 95%, what if we did it at 93% with 6 months more reserves? Oh my gosh, we haven't approved eligible. Like, and everybody else, oh, it's dead. It's dead. It's dead. It's dead. And I think that my experience in the automotive industry, always trying to find a way to get people to get underwriters to agree to put deals together, came from that, right? And I believe that's probably why you had such a big, because you do a lot of different programs in your business.
I think you touched on a great point of something that I tell my team a lot, which is a mindset shift. I think more people in the mortgage industry need to take and in real estate, not just mortgages, but you have to be thinking of ways to qualify people and not ways to disqualify people. And I see it way too frequently of people just like, no, I'm going to disqualify this person. When I'm like, you are not the underwriter. Like it's your job to tell them what's a possibility of whether you can do something or not. It's not your job to say, no, you're not qualified. That's the underwriter's responsibility if it's truly a situation that's not going to be approved, right? And I don't think that people carry that mindset enough, which I would argue is the reason why I've won over significantly more deals from other people, not because my team is any better by any means. It's just because I'm actually looking to qualify people. I'm not looking for ways to disqualify them.
Yeah. I mean, well, if someone had a camera in our mastermind conversations that we have, the majority of the producers in there are big producers, and they all have the same mindset when it comes to that. Like they always try to find ways to put deals together. They look at things differently and how could I restructure? What could I do differently here? And I always would ask people when they come to me, hey, Chris, I need to turn this deal down. Can you do a turn down so we can get their earnest money back? I'm like, oh, are you an underwriter? No. Did you talk to an underwriter? No. I'm not turning down anything until we talk to an underwriter. Okay. So let's go find out, maybe, Mr. Underwriter, if you review this file, what's it going to take for us to get this to a yes? Maybe we ask a question that way and let them do their job as an underwriter to solve a problem to get a deal approved. Mm-hmm. Right. And I think that that's where a lot of people fall short too, is when the deal gets turned down, they go, oh, it's done. No, how do we get it to a yes? Right. How do we get it to a yes? It's the same with relationships and everything else we do, right? When we're talking to a potential realtor partner, and they're like, No, I'm good. I don't really need to do business. I've got somebody else. Okay, well, how do I get that no to a yes? Nobody asked that, man.
Yeah.
Nobody asked that. And what I know from you and I, based off of what our girls look like, our women in our lives, we know how to get a no to a yes, brother. Right? I mean, we just do, right? Like we can get a no to a yes, like we can, right? Because if not, we probably got no's, right? We could turn them to yeses based off of who we're with. So I'll let you go from there. But
I think it's 100% true, and we're going to talk about this too later. But I was on a call earlier today with a 40 almost $50 million a year producer, a realtor, and 90% of his client base is all Spanish speaking, and the conversation that we were having was on what his team needs for support and growth. I didn't even really care. To me, what is it that he's going to be able to do for me, because I knew that there's significantly many more systems and structures that I can implement that will double his business, simply because he has a significantly better partner than the people that he's working with currently. And I think part of it too is just going back to the relationship building aspect of it. I think there's too many people who in our industry are always thinking of what can I get out of you, as opposed to what can I give, and actually having a conversation from value. If you're starting a conversation from giving value, that other person is going to eventually feel indebted to you, because you're giving them so much value that they're like, man, I got to do something for this other person. And I know that's a tangent from what we were talking about, but I felt like
no. I love the segue there.
It's something that I want my LOs to internalize, and it's been a lot of our conversations in the last couple of weeks as we've been into the new year, on how can we find those relationships where we're in alignment, because you know, like, and trust the person, and because you want to be friends with them at the end of the day.
Yeah. There's one of the things where you can definitely tell if you're in a relationship that is mutually valuable. And I'm one of those guys who gives value, then ask, value, then ask, right? That's just the algorithm that I use, right? But I still have a hard time asking sometimes.
Yeah.
I just am in the value business. But the cool thing is when you have your clients, referral partners, whatever, and they look back to you and they say, Ricardo, what can I do for you? Like you haven't asked, like, what can I do to help you? When you get that response from somebody, you know you've got a very valuable relationship, and you know that they respect that relationship more than just a business transaction, because they're getting the value from you, and they're like, God, this guy's helping me do all these things. Look at all the stuff we're doing. Like, we're totally realigned. We're changing things, and there's another comma in our P&L. Like, what are we? Like, I really want to make sure that this person, that I can give back to them as well. So I think that should be a goal for everybody in a referral partner based relationship, is you give so much to the right person that they look back to you and say, okay, what can I do for you? What can I give you? Like, and that's, I told this from stage the other day, I'd rather have 50 people in a CRM that I know over 5,000 people that don't know me.
It's true.
And most people have 5,000 people that don't know them. You give me 50 people that know me, that I know, like, and trust in the real estate space. You can put me in Tulsa, Oklahoma. You can put me anywhere you want, Nebraska, and I'm going to be number one guy in the market. If there's 50 people that know, like, and trust me, because I know how to leverage that and build something special from it. Right. Yeah. And I think that's where you come in. So I want to kind of move to that space. Like, you're a nationwide lender. How do you keep that so dialed in, being a nationwide, doing business in all 50 states? Like, how, because I know it started a little bit differently than that.
Yeah.
But how do you do that now? Because you offer such service at a high level. How do you continue to build those relationships?
I think it's always a constant restructuring. But one of the things that I think is a little unique in our sense, because I don't have the ability to be on the ground as much, in the sense of, like, I can't physically be in some of these locations where we have amazing realtor partners, but I can still make an impact without doing that. And I think that starts with the way that you treat your clients. And we were literally talking about this earlier today, because, the realtor partner that I was speaking with primarily speaks with Spanish speaking clients, Spanish speaking individuals. A lot of our Latino community that's in the United States who wants to purchase real estate They don't trust the banking system. They don't trust people who are in real estate. They don't keep their money in the bank accounts. They want to see you face to face and give you their tax returns. And so how can you get these people's trust to give you paperwork and information without you having to actually physically be there? And I think that starts with when you actually care about the client experience. And there's too many people who don't in our industry who don't care about the client experience. And those are the people who talk about having bad transactions, because of the fact that they're not coming from a position of actually caring and doing what's in the best interest of their client. And for me, the VIP agents that we work with across the US have to be people who I know are going to resonate with that. And because we service so many different markets, I give a lot of recommendations of these different markets to my new investor clients. Like when someone asks me, hey, Ricardo, what would you recommend for properties in the 400 to 600K range that's going to be a long-term rental? I can name a couple cities off the top of my head, and I have realtor partners in those locations that I can put them in touch with. But it's realtor partners of mine who I know are going to take care of my clients the same way that I would. And I think that's where the root of our relationship stems from, is that we're both in alignment with how we treat our clients.
Let's go back to the Spanish speaking business. I was in the mortgage space in Florida for a long time, and we did a lot of Spanish speaking business. I mean, in Central Florida, especially, right? We have a large melting pot. People that have never really spent a lot of time in Orlando would not get it until they went there. It's like New York City. Like, I mean, it's a melting pot of people in Orlando, right? So what I found most interesting is the people that were struggling with the Spanish speaking business. I felt it was because they were asking them the same qualifying questions they were asking someone who was an English speaking client. And it kind of led to that they don't trust the banking system. There's just different things. So for you, what's the different, like, do you have a different set of qualifying questions? And I'm not saying we're like, please don't think I don't think this isn't racist, but like, I'm not redlining or anything here. I'm just trying to help them qualify and go down a path. So I want to make sure people are clear about that. Like, is there a different way that you talk to them and come to them because you know that they have a different set of fears involved in this?
Most definitely. Yeah, most definitely. And it was actually although we work with a lot of Spanish speaking individuals that purchase with us here in the States, it's not the majority of my business. But in my first years in working in finance, when I was back working in banking, the location that I worked at for Chase Bank was in one of the most Spanish only speaking locations in Oakland, California, which for many people who already know, Oakland has a really bad rep in general with crime rates and everything else. But then you go to a place like Fruitvale in Oakland, where, I mean, there's a movie about it for what happened on the BART station in Fruitvale, right? But it's not the best location, and people that are there are only speaking Spanish, and our ATMs used to get broken into pretty much weekly. But it was one of the best learning experiences for me, because every person who walked through that branch, 99% of them spoke Spanish. So for me, about 2 years of my time working there, I was predominantly only speaking Spanish about financing products to the client base that we were dealing with, which gave me the best inside knowledge on how these people operate, because of the fact that they don't even know how to use the mobile app on their phone. Like, I would have to help these people download the app on their phone so that they could figure out how to send a Zelle transfer. Like, the thing is that people who service the community, they don't understand. They might, if it's their first time dealing with it, right? Like, they're not going to understand where do these people need more assistance than the majority. And they need the assistance on explaining things because they don't understand what amortization is. They don't know what the difference is between a 30-year fixed or a 5-year ARM. Like, I'm doing a refinance right now for a client of ours who's Spanish speaking, doesn't speak English, and told me that the previous loan officer explained nothing to them and put them into an adjustable rate mortgage. So I'm refinancing them into a 30-year fixed because the person before me didn't know what they were doing.
Yes.
And so now their guard up is even more, their guard is even higher, right?
Of course. I was talking to somebody earlier today about the mortgage business, and I said that this business should never be as hard as it is. We make it so difficult because so many people in our space try to take shortcuts. People make it so difficult. And it's a business that you can change people's lives by putting them in a house and all those things. Plus, you can change so many people's lives by showing them how to make a better living and do things that they weren't even thought were possible. There's so much good that can come from this business. But I feel like every time we start to get the good, these creepers show up again, right? Like these people doing stuff they shouldn't be doing, like walking the line with these different programs or products, or putting somebody in an arm product. Like when was last time an arm was even a good deal, unless it was like a DSCR or something? Like I can't even think of it. Like when I got in the business in 05, like in 05, arms were a great product.
Yeah.
They were 1.5, 2 points better on the rate, right? And then you'd put someone in a 10-1 arm. It was a great product. It was set at the right index. It wasn't all this crazy 5.5. Like just it was a more manageable product, but it was a good product. And then people started putting people in these 228s, right? In these 1 year arms, or they start doing these buy down, like these crazy things to take advantage of somebody just to get that one commission. So I know that's not you or your team, because I've been involved with a lot of stuff with your team, which has been really fun. But when you start bringing those potential referral partners in, how do you make sure that that's not the type of person you're bringing into the fold?
Yeah. In relation to the actual partner, I think a lot of it for me is we just have to do a deal together to see the way that they actually work. I mean, and that's how most realtor partners operate too, right? Because think about how many loan officers are calling them all the time trying to win their business over, but how many times are they getting a call from a loan officer saying, "Hey, I have a pre-approved buyer for you"? Like it really doesn't happen, and you'll hear that from realtors. And so for me, that's one of the easiest things is if it's the first time that I'm giving somebody who's pre-approved to this realtor, I want to see how they're going to work throughout the entire process, and I want to see how they upkeep the communication. And I'll ask them for feedback on my team and how we handled the transaction. And I'll even ask the client on the realtor side, especially if it was somebody that I'm recommending. Because I have my list of my VIPs of the ones that I know are going to deliver on the client experience in the way that I want. But I think the only way to gauge with new partners is to actually do a deal together.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a couple deals probably, if you really had to break it down and look at it. And then you really don't know the referral partner until a deal goes sideways.
Right? That's true too.
Yeah. It's like you really don't know somebody until a waiter shows up with the wrong food.
Right. That's right. Or, are they going to eat it, or are they going to say something?
Yeah. Or you travel with somebody. You really don't know somebody until you've traveled with somebody. And I thought my wife would probably leave me the first time we travel. I'm not a very good traveler. I don't know why. I'm nervous, Nelly, trying all this stuff. You're the opposite of me. You show up as the plane's pulling away from the gate and hope they open the door. I got to be there like super early. You know what I mean? Like
that's definitely me. Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, I know. You've sent me pictures before of you boarding a plane with you got your coffee and you're bored. Like we just talked earlier in the day and you're like, oh, I'm gonna make the flight. I'm like, it's the day before Thanksgiving, dude. Are you seriously gonna make this flight out of Miami at 6 p.m.? I'm like, the busiest travel day of the year, and he made the flight, guys. He did. He did make the flight.
That's it.
He did make the flight. But I think that's something to do with top producers. I have a friend of mine who's a big top producer, and he literally slides his car into the valet, jumps out, throws the keys, and runs to the airport. You know what I mean? Like just prays he can get through security. That's every time. So I stopped riding with him to the airport because I couldn't deal with it. I'm like, where's Jason? I'm like, oh, he'll be here soon. Like he's gonna be here. But
I think I've only missed maybe 3 flights total of all the times that I've really pushed the envelope with showing up. I think I've missed maybe 3, but those are the 3 that everybody gives me shit for because I'm the one who's showing up last minute. And I'm like, sorry, I'm not going to go show up to the airport 3 hours early on an international flight. I'm not.
Yeah, I get it. I do. I don't know. I mean, I fly a lot of Southwest because I'm I'm in Indiana now. So like, it's just easier. And
Southwest is tough to push the line with though, because they move their times I've had many flights be delayed with Southwest and then they pull it back to the previous time.
Oh yeah. And they'll board the plane and leave. Like the flight wasn't supposed to leave for 20 minutes. We're leaving. Like we got it.
That's right.
But the nice thing with them now is that you can secure your seat. You can reserve a seat now on the plane. And so for me, that's great, right? I can get there and I don't have to stand in line, do the cattle call and all this stuff. I know where I'm sitting on the plane. I know I've got a seat. I don't have to fight for it. So that's a big deal. Um, Look, one of the things I wanted to talk about too today was you and I have done a lot of work over the last 7, 8 months since we've been working together. And one of the things that we talked about was we have these big goals, right? These big numbers we're going to get to, right? And this big thing. And how important has it been to you, for you, as you're building this super team, like you literally have a super team of people with that, you have that mindset and the confidence of the, um, build it and they will come kind of mindset, right? Like, so how important has it been for you to really be focused and dialed in on that? And then have you felt any additional stress on, now that you've got it in place, making sure that we have the flow of leads we need?
Yeah, I mean, over the January has been the biggest push in terms of me making sure that the team, that we have the volume that's coming in for the team. It's been absolutely phenomenal as far as seeing the team handle the increase in the volume that's coming, because we've more than doubled the amount of inflow from last month just to this month. And seeing that the team has been handling it and communicating with each other even more gives me the trust that I know that they can handle it. And so it's going to only allow me to want to push it even more. And that's what we've been doing. That's what I'm going to continue to do with them. And the way that I've looked at it, and the way that we kind of talk about it a lot too, is like, not every single team makes it to the Super Bowl. I mean, we saw the games that just happened a couple days ago, and it's like, yeah, not every team's going to make it to the Super Bowl, and that sucks. But that's the reality of the situation. And if you do want to be the team that's going to go to the Super Bowl, well, what are you doing differently that the rest of the teams aren't doing? So that's kind of how I've been viewing it. That's how I hold the pressure on the team. And if that's not something that they want to be a part of, then that's okay.
Yeah, no, I love that part of you too. Cause if they don't want to be part of it, you're totally fine with moving on from that. So I'm not going to tell people the number that we talked about, what the goal is, cause people might just pass out, but I will tell you this, his lead goal number is 1,000 leads a month. I'll say that one more time for the people that weren't listening or that are on the treadmill and thought they misheard. It's 1,000 leads a month is the target. And, it's so cool because I'm inside of all his systems and I see all the dashboards and all the stuff and everything they're doing. Like if he told me it was 10,000 leads a month, I'd have been like, well, we'll probably figure out a way to get there. Like, I just figure like that. Cause like you're so dialed in with what the numbers mean and the way things work and the analytics behind getting people from here to there to say yes, and what that percentage be and what that should look like and how many times we get, like, there's so many things that are data driven in there. I think that you'll be in a short time, over the next couple of years, you'll be $1 billion producer because of that. Like because of doing the things the right way, saying the things to the right people, treating people the right way, but also having the systems and processes and the analytics behind what it takes to build a business that way. And you're in what they call a down market, which is funny because everybody on our mastermind call had great years last year. If anybody's listening, but like, everybody on that mastermind outperformed the market like crazy, head and shoulders above. But, do you stay up at night stressing about new systems or processes or things you need to put in place to manage that stuff?
Yeah, you know me too well. Of course.
Uh-huh.
Of course. Yeah, no, my sleep has been all kinds of messed up the last couple of weeks. And even my brother was like, damn, I haven't known you to be the person who's bad with sleep. And I'm like, well, I'm not bad with sleep. I'm just not going to sleep because my mind races about a million different things that we could be doing and that we are going to be doing and that just take time to build.
Well, I think that it was a lot with top producers and people that want to be great or have something. Like last night, I couldn't sleep. I'm laying in bed. I'm giving a keynote at Universal Studios in a few days. And I'm thinking it through on what I'm going to say and how I'm going to say it. I'm like, oh no, wait a minute. I'm laying in bed, like 2 a.m. I'm like, if I get down on my knee and I lean into the crowd when I say that, oh, that's going to be so much better than just standing up straight. Like that's how my brain works, right? It's 2 a.m. I should be sleeping.